All right, we're back. Part 2, episode 11, enter 77. Right after that nice little cut to black in the last one, we're back. Not going to waste too much time with the preamble, other than the fact that, like you were saying, Luke, before the stream started, this Trisha Tanaka was the kind of fun, loose filler episode, getting the gang back together, and this is the plot episode where it's like, okay, Kate is back. We are back on the hunt. Kate, Sayid, Locke, and Russo are heading into the jungle in order to try and find the others' encampment where Jack is. They're following this potential like thing of where like, oh, if the sunlight hits Echo's stick at just the right angle, it'll point them in the direction where they need to go. Do they find the others' community? No, but they do find something that is of vast importance both to the island lore and to kind of their quest in terms of beating the others. And that is the form of the Flame Station and the identity of the strange eye-patched man that Locke saw in the camera recording at the Pearl Station in episode 3. That would be Mikhail, played very, very enthusiastically by I believe the actor's name is Michael Devoff. He's been a voice in a couple of other things. He is probably my favorite new character that we have this season from the others because, oh man, every time that dude opens his mouth, it is just entertaining beyond belief. And also, we got another closing of a mystery because the mysterious black woman who wears the what's called the thing over her head, who was the one who originally talked to Michael when he was captured by the others last season. We finally saw what happened to her because we were like, okay, where is she with the others? She was a pretty important character. And it turned out she was right here, hiding out with Mikhail at the Flame Station. So, Luke, what did you think of this episode in comparison to the previous one?
Well, as soon as I saw in the credits written by Damon Lindelof and Carlton Hughes, I'm like, oh, settle in. This is going to be a banger.
It's going to be a banger.
It's because, yeah, like you said, and then you messaged me like the day before I watched it. This is a banger episode. Okay, my suspicions are coming true, and it did absolutely delivered.
Yes.
The flashbacks were kind of retreading ground, but the overall episode absolutely made up for. Even a fun Sawyer Hurley subplot thrown in there.
Yeah, the flashbacks in this episode are a little bit weird because it's one of those instances where, like, they're kind of complementing each other in the sense of where, like, the main plot on the island, and we've had this in a couple of Lost episodes at this point now, where the main plot on the island is so forward-moving and so compelling that the flashbacks, by virtue of that, are meant to kind of reflect a certain character choice and character arc that's happening in there, and so it's not necessarily adding anything new. So while Sayid's flashback in this episode, again, they're not necessarily giving us anything new. We pretty much got everything that we needed. Sayid is that character that we pretty much got everything we needed from him in those first couple of episodes that we got in the first 2 seasons, where Hayes was like a two-hander in the first season, where first we see him with the Iraqi Republican Guard, and then we see him being recruited by the CIA to go and get his friend, which is the thing that brings him to Australia. And then the season 2 flashback that we got with him was a little bit of was just to show like, oh, how much he hates torturing people ultimately. And then this flashback we get is a little bit of a fallout of that choice. If it's like, oh, you may try to escape your past, but your past is not going to let you escape, where he's working as a chef in, I believe it's France where he is. They don't really specify where he is. And he gets recognized by another Iraqi, played in a cameo of, you recognize Sean Tube, a.k.a. what's it called? Yinsen from the very first Iron Man.
It was basically the opposite of his character in Iron Man.
Literally.
And then he goes on to do Iron Man, like, probably soon after this.
Exactly, where he recognizes Sayid from Iraq, recruits him to become a chef in his restaurant. Sayid bites at the bait. He goes in. He gets up getting captured because it turns out that this guy's wife was one of Sayid's torture victims during his time with the Republican Guard. And the whole flashback episode, he's basically going back and forth, being like, oh, I don't remember you. You've got the wrong guy. And ultimately, at the end, finally, when the wife interrogates him, he finally caves and is like, yeah, I remember you. He's like, and of course, I'm so sorry. It's basically going to show that, like, Sayid as a character is consistently throughout his time on the island and throughout his time that we spent with him, is consistently trying to outrun the sins of his past ultimately, and and this is kind of a reminder, similar to some of the other characters that we've gotten, that no matter how hard he tries, he's not going to be able to outrun them, because some of the things that he's done in his past are just too heinous, which of course makes him the perfect ally for the island survivors ultimately, that he's ultimately going to be kind of, characters like him, Sawyer, are ultimately going to be this perfect weapon and this force ultimately that the others don't see coming, because as we see, if it had just been Locke and Kate and Russo when they ran into Mikhail, they would have been sorely out of sorts. But thanks to having Sayid with them, they were able to get the one up on them and show that, like, okay, the others aren't as efficient as we previously thought. Ultimately, yeah, they have the advantage of knowing the island better than the other survivors, but the other survivors, they've been here long enough, and they've learned a lot in their very, very short amount of time since they've been here, and all of that is kind of brought to fruition here in the sense of where, you have Locke, Kate, Sayid, and Russo going on this quest in order to find the others' village, and they discover this compound where, well, first Sayid sees a cow in the woods, and it leads him to this compound. At first, it's one of those instances where it's like, oh, we've been trained to
expect this. Animals.
Yeah. Animals in the woods. Oh boy, what kind of a hallucination island fuckery is this going to be? And in this case, it's not. It's like, oh no, there's like an actual compound here being traded by this one guy. Hey, that guy kind of looks familiar. He turns around. You're like, oh shit, it's Eye Patch dude. It's Eye Patch dude. And you immediately know, you're like, oh, some shit's about to go down. Sayid's like, okay, I'm going to go up first by myself. I'm going to be unarmed. We're going to see what's going on. And then, what's it called? And then, because the problem is if he sees a bunch of people with guns, he's going to start firing. And what happens? He immediately fires. Sayid gets shot in the arm. And then Kate and Locke come out. And Russo's like, this is trouble. I'm not fucking with this. And immediately just out. And then you have basically what follows is a 20 to 30 minute cat and mouse game between once they realize that, oh, this guy Mikhail, at least he claims not to be an other. He claims to be, I'm a member of the DHARMA Initiative. And while eventually that facade is eventually lifted, we do learn a lot in this episode, basically kind of not necessarily about the DHARMA Initiative because we've learned a lot about them up until this point, but I would say the conflict between the DHARMA Initiative and the others, and as far as kind of what led to the conflict area between them.
Yeah, it was quite a almost video gamey type episode, which Lost has I've mentioned with this series in the past. Like a Lost type video game would be quite cool, like a big open world island with like unlockable areas, and this is like another area. It's like the house, the flame, and then you go inside. You listen to the NPC dialogue while exploring like different things. Like Locke wanders into the room, starts playing chess. Sayid and Kate talk with Mikhail, and yeah, again, it's like we get some more answers, or at least some kind of insight into this guy. All the while, we're suspecting that, okay, this guy he's not exactly who
he's not telling the truth. And I love how too that like Sayid after spending an entire second half of the season like interrogating and trying to figure out Ben Linus last season, they're like, okay, if a dude is saying, at least in this section of the show, if a dude is saying that like they're someone else, they're probably not who they say they are. And Sayid, I love how after Mikhail goes into the other room, Sayid is immediately like, yeah, this dude's another. Like, he clocks it, like, immediately. Like, he's like, I've spent enough time. I can recognize it. He's like, look, I'm not saying that he's lying. Everything that he is saying is the truth. But this guy is not a part of the DHARMA Initiative. I'm like, he's like the thing about the others leaving him here by himself. He's like, that doesn't make sense at all. And she's like, well, then why is he telling us all this? He's like, because he's not here alone. He's not the only guy here. And I love how when Mikhail comes back, there's almost like a kindred soul connection that's formed between Sayid and Mikhail, where again, Mikhail also has military history. He served with the Russian Communist Army right before the fall of the Soviet Union, which is right when he was supposedly recruited by the DHARMA Initiative, the others. But we clearly have shown that, and this episode also establishes a connection to also Richard popping up in the Juliet episode, not in Portland, that the others do have capabilities of getting off and on the island, and it is all the tech that they commandeered from DHARMA when they took them over. And this is the first time that we also get the Purge mentioned, in which the others were able to simultaneously wipe out the entire DHARMA Initiative. We don't know how, though. That will be revealed in a later episode. And yeah, it's a big old exposition dump, but it pulls a classic Hollywood trope in the sense of, oh, if you need to dump exposition, get a really, really fascinating character to do that. And man, do we get that with Mikhail, where this dude is like, I don't even know how to describe. I mean, first off, he has a fucking eye patch, which is already badass enough to begin with. Then he's Russian, but he's talking in
I think he's Ukrainian.
Yeah, Ukrainian. You know what? That would make more sense if he is Ukrainian.
Yeah, I think he mentioned he was from Kiev.
Yes,
so.
And he's also talking in a vernacular that's just so fascinating and interesting. Like, he's very, very firm. He's very tough. He's very no bullshit. But also he does have like kind of like a kindred, that like there is like kind of a humanity and a relatability to him. But he also like immediately, once the facade is dropped, and he has like kind of almost, it helps that like he has a cat, which also connects to the Sayid flashback because the dude who imprisoned him also had a cat. And he's like, there's almost like a sly wink in his eyes, where one Sayid is asking him certain questions that immediately clues him into the like, yeah, we're on to you, buddy. And he's immediately like, why do we continue to play this game when it's already progressed to the next level? I'm like, let's fucking go. I'm like, I forgot how much I miss Mikhail and how much he was like one of my favorite characters from this stretch of the show. Like, every time he opened his mouth, it really sucks because there's a really, really tragic moment that happens in the finale of this season, which, given all the hints that we've gotten, I think you can figure out up until this. I think you can figure out what that's going to be. And Mikhail is responsible for it. And it just kills me because he's such an awesome character. But like a majority of the others, we only get them for this season. But oh man, it is so goddamn entertaining. What did you think of that whole like cat and mouse back and forth interaction between Mikhail and Sayid?
Yeah, the whole build up to like that his reveal where he drops the facade is just pure bliss. Like, okay, we like, again, we should try and avoid info dumps, but every now and then you just need
You need it.
to dump a whole lot, but more importantly, you need to earn it like throughout the build up of the rest of the season. Obviously, Lost is really good at it. I've seen few who do it as good as Lost. And like you said, you get a really cool character to deliver it. You add the mystery of like, oh, he's in this just regular house, like it's a new area of the map we've unlocked. Kate, like Locke's been nerfed this season, like in many ways. Because season 2 was definitely the Locke season. This season he's gotten kind of like,
he's taking a little bit of a backseat here.
What's in here? I'm gonna sit down here and I'm gonna play chess for a little while, and then he comes out like, hey, what did I miss? Like, and meanwhile, Sayid's like had a fight with this guy, and yeah, it's just like.
Yeah.
And like Lost at his best.
Yeah, and I love how too. I'll admit though, this is a little bit of like a lax point from Locke, because Locke's usually on point when it comes to this stuff. And then while Sayid and Kate are exploring kind of the underground of the Flame Station, and obviously again, it's like it's got a big old satellite on top of it too for transmissions, and they're trying to figure out like and they're essentially trying to figure out like what to do. Mikhail mentioned to Locke, he's like, oh, I've never beaten that chess game before. Locke just, when he's tied up, Locke just lets him sit there. And I'm like, buddy, what are you doing? What do you think is going to happen here? And he goes back to playing the stupid chess game. And then it allows Mikhail to escape and hold him at knife point. And then while Sayid and Kate are exploring underground, they're attacked by the woman. I don't remember what her name was. I think she told us at the end of season 2. I don't remember. But allows them to get attacked. Sayid thankfully gets the upper hand on her. And then they have a little hostage situation outside where they're like, oh, okay. And then the woman gets Mikhail to shoot her because they're like, yeah, we're not telling these guys anything. And then meanwhile, Locke is able to unlock the chess game and win. And by beating the chess game, he's able to get the message from Francois Chow's character. I can't remember his name because he uses a different name every time he records. So you want to talk about like video game as strategies.
And then he gets options of like, was it a pallet drop?
It's like the pallet drop, signal communication. He tries to like communicate with the outside world. The whole thing is they're like, oh, is the Pearl Station actually capable of communicating with the outside world? And he tries it, and then another recording comes up. And it's like, communications error. The thing is down. We also know that the Pearl Station is rigged with C4. We don't know if that's Mikhail or if that was the DHARMA Initiative. And then it basically builds up to the title, Enter 7-7, where Locke is essentially able to, what's it called? Where you enter 7-7, and then they all go outside. They're prepared to take Mikhail back to camp with them, and then the thing explodes. And Sayid is like, "What did you do?"
Check off C4 essentially.
Yeah, this is a little bit of a low-key a weak Locke episode, because I mean, Sayid ultimately is the one who decides to let Mikhail go, which is the decision that is going to come and bite them in the ass tremendously. Like, if you ever want to talk about a situation where they should have killed a guy, it would have been here. But the problem is Mikhail's too interesting of a character; they couldn't let them. But also kind of a low-key like bad Locke episode where Locke just like lets the station explode and lets his guard down very easily and allows Mikhail to overpower him, and he lets a potential, which also allows another potential source of information to get killed. It's like, what is happening here? So this is another instance where it's like, oh, they have to make these characters do deliberately stupid things so that we can let the plot continue,
Yeah, it's because like as soon as you give them like a hope of communication with the outside, well, you have to strip it away.
Yeah,
like you have. We're only halfway through the season.
Yeah, it's true. I remember we also have the hint from the finale of last week's episode too, where everyone is kind of referencing and talking about this event where, even though it's been a couple of episodes, like the sky turning purple from the hatch explosion, like the outside world did detect that, and they are on their way to the island, whether our survivors realize it or not.
And I'm just waiting to see where that might pick up and how that falls in.
It's interesting because I forgot that like the fallout of that extends not into season 3 but into season 4 as well, because the way that season 4 plays out, and as short as it is, because it's only 14 episodes, 12 once you condense the 3-part finale there into one, it does act just like as an extension for season 3, because the way that season 3 ends, you're like, oh, that one really leaves you on a cliffhanger, and that one really and a lot of overhanging storylines storylines there aren't resolved until season 4. So that's going to be really interesting once we get into that. And then the fun subplot, as we're just hanging with the beat survivors in this episode, is, Sawyer wants his stuff back. He's mad that everybody else has it. And he challenges, he sees him setting up a ping pong table. And he's like, I'm going to challenge you all to ping pong. He's like, and I don't lose. And then Hurley beats him so badly that he ends up basically having to, I don't remember the term, but basically the way the trade-off for Sawyer losing is Sawyer has to finally start calling people by their real names, nickname, which I'm like, listen,
for a week.
For a week. It is a fun B plot, but that is what finally allows Sawyer to start calling everybody by their real actual names and no more of the dumb nicknames. So important plot progression, I will mention there. So
yeah, again, I do marvel at the ability of the writers to create a subplot for Sawyer every time that involves him just doing something that he's not very happy with doing. It's always Sawyer. Like he either he's the main guy doing it or he's involved, like with the van in the previous episode. And again, just keep on building that dynamic with Sawyer after he's returned from the other island.
Yep. Exactly, pretty much.
And again, it's like there's this leadership vacuum almost now that Jack is still on wherever he is. He's on
also 2 straight episodes with no Jack and none of the others.
Yep.
So that's going to be interesting because I forgot like when we like get back to them ultimately. Because I don't remember how long it is until like the mainland survivors are able to locate like kind of the island, the others community where because now that's another important thing that this episode told us is the others have occupied the former barracks that were for the DHARMA Initiative members that are located like kind of in that alcove in the middle of the island that we saw in the premiere. So once again, a lot of information that was dumped on us, a lot of important information, a lot of important progression that we've made so far as the lore. Will we get some more answers? Tune in next time in order to find out. Like I said, that's really it. Like I said,
as always, we'll get some of the answers.
We will get some of the answers, but not all of them. That's exactly it. So we'll be back next week for Part Avian, which is the next Claire flashback episode. We'll also be covering all of the movies that we have. That Dustin and I will also be covering all of the movies that we've watched from the first 2 weeks of October, as well as a couple of others. I got to consult my list because it's quite a lot of stuff that we are going to be covering. We will be covering Task, Smashing Machine, Roofman, Tron Ares, If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You. It Was Just an Accident, and Dustin was able to see Is This Thing On at the New York Film Festival. We will be covering all of those movies next week for our mid-October month dump, so be sure to tune into that, as well as tune in for our Lost recaps that we have going on every week for the rest of the year. We are making great headway for the rest of the season as we get into the end of the year. Luke, thank you once again for joining me. Where can the good people follow you on the interwebs?
They can follow me at Luke Reviews on YouTube. I have watched The Thing and made notes about The Thing and why it's so good. So I will have to try and formulate that into some kind of video. Also watched Peacemaker, and let's just say I'm glad that we're not getting written project for a year.
I don't want to talk about Peacemaker.
Yeah. I think he burned himself out.
He did. I have said this multiple times. I'm like, okay, Peacemaker tripped and fell on its face so that Superman could fly. All right, like I get that. Also, I completely forgot New York Comic Con was this weekend, and there was a lot of drops. We got release dates, first couple of release dates for shows for next year. Night of the Seven Kingdoms, January 18th. Wonder Man delayed to January 27th. And we also basically have like our full-on slate for all the Marvel shows that are going to be coming next year. So we have Wonder Man kicking it off in January, then Daredevil Born Again Season 2 in March, then X-Men 97 will be the summer. Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man will be the fall, Season 2 of that, and then Vision Quest will be sometime more than likely late summer, early fall, if I had to guess. Along with the only 2 MCU movies that we're getting next year, Brand New Day and Doomsday. They're like, yeesh. After this year, they're like, we need some money, man, because all of our movies this year flopped. We need some money badly. Oh, man.
Yeah, I did catch the X-Men teaser. Someone had filmed it and uploaded somewhere. That looks...
It looks
very
sick.
good.
That looks sick.
Yeah.
Because as Bo DeMeo in his never-ending quest to roast the Marvel leadership for firing him has continued to put out on Twitter. He's like, look, I was still kind of involved in season 2 because they use a lot of my designs. In season 3, where it's gonna turn into some bullshit. But I just love that. Just continuing to show the cracks in the Marvel armor. But I'm sure we'll get more release dates as we get later on. I don't know if I think the DC panel might be happening today, so we might get a Lanterns release date, fingers crossed, but we will see there. So tune in next week for more info dumps, drops, and everything. And like I said, stay tuned because the signature short film that I have been referencing since the start of this podcast, it has been filmed, and I am in the edit for it right now. So stay tuned for all of that. Follow me with everything going on at Movie Nerd Reviews across all platforms, at Official Talkin TV at official Talkin TV podcast across all platforms. Also, be sure to check out some of the Talkin TV merch that we have in the bio. I haven't filmed an official infomercial for that yet, but I will in due time so that you guys can check it out. We got sweatshirts, we got shirts, we got fanny packs, we got water bottles. All of that will be at the link in the bio in this video, and also at the link in the description in the channel as well. So be sure to check that out. And as always, people, get lost. We'll see you guys next week.